Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining today from Fitchrona EMS, it's Deputy Chief Jeff Dostalek. Jeff, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I am doing awesome. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year to you. I'm glad you're jumping on here. We're actually getting you a little bit earlier for the month as we want to talk about with the recent incident that took place during a recent Monday Night Football game. It's kind of brought out some things that have been interesting, hearing how CPR, we've heard terms CPR, defibrillator, AED, and a person's life whose life's on the balance as it stands today seems to be improving. But things came together and worked. And I think a lot of people have learned or heard of things that could save a life. And I think our goal of this interview today is you can save a life. You really can with some simple measures. And we've had this success in recent times here at the City Hall campus. So Jeff, first and foremost, when it comes to hands-only CPR, why are we in that world today? Because we used to have to be certified in CPR, and then we were doing mouth things, and it just kind of, yeah. But where are we? Where are we today?
Yeah, I think things have kind of evolved. That you had to go to a 4-hour class and get a certification and get a card, and if you were a healthcare provider, you got a 2-year certification, and if you weren't. And it's really come down to the fact that CPR is rather simple, and it is something that anyone can do at any time that they run into a situation where somebody's heart has stopped beating or is in VFib or VTAC, pulseless VTAC. And the reason I think we went to hands-only CPR is that people didn't are sometimes afraid to act because, well, if I don't do it right, what happens if I break a rib, or what happens if I do this? And I have to give them mouth to mouth because that's how we taught it is, and I remember being early on in my career, it wasn't a bag valve mask. I remember pulling somebody out of a river in Fort Atkinson and doing mouth to mouth on them to give them CPR. And that really isn't necessary anymore. What we really need people to do is the compressions. And the compressions help circulate that blood, which helps perfuse the brain. And the patient has, somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes of oxygenated blood in them that we just need to circulate it. And if somebody could just start quick CPR, that is all that's needed. I felt, I told you before we started, I didn't want to be, jumping on the bandwagon of Monday Night Football and all of the hype that's come with that. And that is a case of trained professionals being there at the right place at the right time, having all the right equipment to make what appears is a successful resuscitation on an athlete. But we were also very fortunate. I shouldn't say we. Our patient was very fortunate to have semi-trained professionals in the right place at the right time at the rec center back in October, and they were able to shut that off. They were able to resuscitate a life, and we were able to give him a resuscitation pin and get some nice pictures with him and his family. And so the importance for people just to learn how to do CPR, and even if you're not trained, as was the person with our patient that started early CPR, was not trained in CPR, but just started doing chest compressions. And it saved a life and it made a difference. And I think that's the most important thing to remember.
Jeff, when you're saying the word CPR, that still is going to throw some people off. We heard chest compressions, we've heard of CCR, we've heard of all of these terms. But at the end of the day, if you see somebody go down, you're check, could you walk us through again, what are we doing here? And in no specific case, just kind of tell us when might we want to use these chest compressions?
Sure. So first and foremost, if you witness somebody that goes down, because we don't see it that often. If you use the video of Monday Night Football, that's really kind of how it happens, right? He didn't know that he was in, didn't have a viable heartbeat, and after his tackle, he went to the ground. To walk up to a patient to try and establish are they responsive or not, Give yourself about 10 seconds to do that. And you can do that by shaking them. You can do that by rubbing their sternum. You can do that by, doing a trapeziac pinch. And if you don't think that that patient has a heartbeat, to just put your hands on their chest right here in the center and start compressing at a rate of 100 to 120 a minute. And I know that seems scary, and things happen like broken ribs and stuff. And it is something that if you're willing and able to do, is just start those compressions. And it does make a difference, because the longer the person doesn't have blood circulating through their system and perfusing the brain, the chances of their survival is less and less every minute. So just we used to figure out like where the hands go or whatever. Just find the center of their chest, put your hand on the middle of it, and start compressing to a rate of at least 100 to 120 beats a minute. And if you sing the song "Staying Alive," which is kind of a joke in our world, staying alive, just sing that song to the beat, and that is about 100 to 120 beats per minute. If you can, call 911. If most people carry cell phones. For adults, if you recognize somebody's in cardiac arrest, call 911. If you have to go get your cell phone, do that right away. Call 911, and then come back and start your compressions. If it's a child, do at least 2 minutes of CPR before you have to leave in order to call 911, is do the compressions first. But it is, I say it's simple because I've been doing it for 38 years, but it's just a matter of finding the middle of the chest. I'll back up here so you can see right here. Put your hand on there and just start compressing at 100 to 120 beats per minute. And that's all you have to do. We don't go into doing mouth to mouth anymore or giving ventilations, because for the lay person, it just doesn't matter to do that. And with all of the stuff that we see in our world now, most people aren't going to go doing mouth to mouth. So we don't want you to not do anything. So do the compressions. And that is the best advice that I can give you. We talk about hands only CPR in Dane County a lot. It is something that is very important to all of us. And really, hands only CPR is hands only. That's all we want you to do. It's just what I talked about. And early defibrillation, making sure defibrillators, if you've watched any of the news over the last week or so, they've talked a lot about defibrillation and having an AED. And it really is as simple as bringing the machine, turning it on, and following the prompts. It walks you through, put the pads here, here's what's happening with the patient, press the button here. And that's as simple as it gets. Our hope for 2023 for Fitchrona, we stopped it along the lines of with COVID, is to bring the hands-only CPR and the defibrillation back out to the communities. So our plan is to reach out to the libraries in both of our communities and try to set up a couple of dates throughout the course of the year where we won't offer a certification class with CPR. What we're going to offer is just, here's how you do hands only, here's how to recognize somebody's in cardiac arrest, and here's how to use a defibrillator. And that way, when you go out into the community, no matter where you're at in most communities now, you can find a defibrillator on the wall in most buildings, public buildings.
Yeah, you'll find yourself, if you start paying attention, you'll find yourself looking for those things as you go into buildings, or maybe take the time and establish that when you walk into public places. I know I think public safety officials do it just because they, they're just curious and are looking for those things. But you'd be really surprised if you really look for it. There's a lot out there for those. And yes, very easy to use step-by-step directions that anybody could get that on there. Jeff, it's great information. There's certainly a lot of information out there on how to do it. We'll share the information from you guys. But if anybody has any questions or even wants to have their business, have somebody, can they give you a call, Jeff, and just talk to you on finding the right resources to get some training?
Yeah, have them reach out to Patrick or I, Jeff D at Fitchrona EMS.com or Patrick A at Fitchrona EMS.com. You can go on our website. There's a form on there to fill out if you're interested in some training, or just give us a call and let us know what you're interested in. I realize that it's a traumatic event. It's a traumatic event to watch, which was obvious on Monday Night Football. And it's something that we do every day, so we don't see that sort of trauma as much as the lay person might see. But everything it was in place that day. Everything was certainly in place for our survivor a couple of months ago. And it was because people just took action and started compressions and early defibrillation. And it happens all over the country, thousands of times a day, a week, where these things play out. And so it's important that you learn those. You learn hands-only CPR. It's important that you learn where the defibrillators are, and most importantly, it's important that you act when that time comes.
Jeff, I have the Pulse Point app, which I would highly recommend
Yes.
everybody download. And I was hoping that I was going to play the compression rate. Oh, there it is. If you were talking about the Staying Alive song, but if you can kind of hear this, I know it's not too loud here, but the rate of compressions, it is pretty fast. So
yeah,
press hard, press fast is
right.
what's it saying?
And I wouldn't, I say 100, 220. Don't get really caught up in counting like, well, was that 99 or was that 100 or 50, whatever it is. My suggestion is just do CPR, do the compressions, whatever the rate is, it's better than no rate at all. And the Pulse Point app, I'm glad you brought that up because that was on my list to talk about. It is a free app that you're able to download. And what it does is within a quarter mile of where you're at, if you have the app and the notifications on, that if somebody goes into cardiac arrest in a public building, so it's not going to be in a household, but it will be in any public building, the app will notify you that there is a cardiac arrest within a quarter mile. So essentially walking distance, quick walking distance. And if you're willing and able to respond over there, you can respond over there and quickly start compressions or an AED or assist somebody that might be doing compressions. And it's really, it's important. I'm not even going to hazard to guess how many times that Pulse Point app goes off in Dane County a week. But I'm sure it's, 15 or 20, if not more. So it's just a matter of being ready at the time.
Jeff, thank you for the information. Timely, certainly, but on the good note, it brought awareness to an issue that's been there for a long time, and we're always learning as a society, and is a great opportunity to capitalize on. You can help save a life, no matter who you are, and you can get some pretty easy training from Fitchrona or any nearby medical place there to help you out. Yeah. So we'll look forward to sharing that information, and certainly appreciate you.
My pleasure.
All right, Jeff Dostalek, Fitchrona EMS. Check their website. The contact information is there and available.